Hello, everyone. You probably did not expect to hear from me again, but I did have the opportunity to review roughly half of the semifinal games that got posted on groups of which I'm a part, and decided to put together a playlist for you tonight in anticipation of final games either on Saturday or Sunday. If you're not involved with the finals as of yet, stay ready because you never know what's going to happen between now and then. Also would encourage you to review what will be presented on these clips tonight from the standpoint of learning, because down the road you may well be back in a semi or hopefully a final sometime in the future. Overall, we did very, very well. Could see improvement throughout the game. And for that, it's appropriate to give appreciation to those people on the field who do have three-person mechanics background and probably were helping you with things during the game. Clearly, as the game moved forward, we did better and handled things in a much more efficient way. What we want to see for the people that are advancing to Ford Field this weekend is that we're going to go from where we left in the semi and improve our performance when we work on the turf at Ford Field. Was very, very pleased with our foul selection, at least in the games that I had a chance to review. Really didn't see anything that stood out to me as being incorrect or marginal. So really pleased about that. Did notice that we need to do some coordination between our short wings and our deep wings, particularly around the goal line. So we're going to talk about that tonight. The last thing that I want to mention before we go to videotape is just a reminder that as you prepare for your final games this weekend, make sure you spend some time on Huddle to review the two teams that you're going to have. Not that you'll pick up everything that they're going to do, but it'll give you a good idea who their top players are and give you a chance then to be prepared for someone that has blazing speed, for instance. So without further ado, let's go to our plays, and we're going to begin in an area that we did not really spend a lot of time on. We took it for granted, which is always a mistake, that the time that we spent at the office on Sunday night would be sufficient. So we're going to do a little refresher in terms of our free kicks. This first free kick is going to be a kick that will come down, and our field judge at the top of the screen is not going to give ground. You'll see him there, and he's going to come back and take a spot. First of all, that's not your forward progress spot. Deep wings, you need to keep moving. You should come down a short distance. Looks like he moved down in a good distance. But as this kick begins to develop, and while you're watching your keys and the point of attack, you need to have your feet moving. And right now, you should make a full commitment to your cushion. And you can see that we're just over the 50-yard line. The runner goes down somewhere around the 45, and we come back and take that spot. We want the short wing to come up and take that spot, and we want you to continue with your cushion downfield. Even if the short wing has to come back an appreciable distance, it's still better for you to stay ahead and supervise the players around the pile. Next clip is going to be from the Mason MLK game. And what we're going to have is our side judge at the bottom of the screen, standing at the 50-yard line, is going to be slow to react in terms of giving ground. And this return is going to come up his sideline. You can see the returner has turned the corner, broken the couple of tackles, and now we're still standing still at the 45, and we take an out-of-bounds spot. As with the first clip, as this return begins to develop, we need to get our feet moving so that we're headed towards the goal line at the other end of the field in the event that this return goes further. It ends up ending pretty much at his feet. But again, this is a short wing spot, not our deep spot. All right, let's transition now back to Belleville Davison. All right, now, as we've talked about religiously, every free kick is a short kick until it's not. Now, in that particular case, that was not intended to be a short kick, but the kick hit a player up in the front line, the second one in from the bottom of the screen. Right here, it hits him and ricochets back behind the restraining line. It fooled a camera person. Now, ironically, Davison did not get this ball back because the back judge had offside. Now, that is an appropriate decision because even though this was not intended to be a short kick, the net effect was that it became one. So therefore, the same standard is in place as if it was a short kick that's going to decide the game. So this got blown back and had a re-kick. But the point of the matter is we can't be surprised by this. Getting the offside by the back judge was a very alert call. Had this kick gone the full distance downfield, I'm sure he would have withheld his flag. But we have to be alert for short kicks, whether intentional or unintentional. All right, the next clip should also be from the same game, 75. This is the kickoff to start the second half. Belleville is already ahead, appears to have control of the game. They saw something in their scouting that led them to believe that they could get this outcome. Now, the problem that we have here is that the ball is going to trail the players. You can see the kicker is already ahead of the ball, and we're going to have blocks that are going to occur before the ball gets anywhere close to the restraining line. So therefore, this is going to be a live ball foul. Flag should be down. If Team A recovers if Team B recovers the ball, they have the option of having the 5-yard foul tacked on to the end of the run. In the case where Team A recovers, then obviously we're going to re-kick with a 5-yard foul. All right, now I want you to take a look at Team A's configuration at the top of the screen. If you'll run it back just a little bit, Gregor. Now, you've got the kicker who is the fourth person over, and then you've got technically the fourth person right at the edge of the hash. Now, if you look at where the ball is teed and you look where he's standing, technically he is he's close enough that we're going to give, we're not going to trouble there. If this player was on the other side of the hash, we would want to issue some sort of a warning, trying to get that corrected before we kicked, so that we wouldn't end up with a procedural foul. But from this formation, one of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to short kick, and this is clip 35 of the game, so they're probably not going to do that. The other possibility is what they do, and that is to attempt to do a directional kick for a specific distance that essentially is going to take the kick returner that the Team B would like to have field the ball out of the play. So what the kicker is going to do is to kick it cross field over here, and we immediately get a fair catch signal at the 27, 28-yard line. Team A has accomplished what they set out to do. So we have to be alert to that. If in a situation like this, the deep people probably are not going to move at all. There's really no depth, that there's no advantage to getting depth downfield. We want to observe those engagements that are going to occur between opponents, between where the catch is completed and where they come in contact with one another. All right, in this particular case, we've got a player right in the middle of the field, and he's going to move across the field towards the numbers. Now, the question becomes here, is he attempting to field the ball, or is he looking to block an opponent? If he is coming to legitimately play the ball, then he has first access to the ball until the free kick has crossed the restraining line or until team A has touched it. On the other hand, if he's coming up to block, then he does not have the blocking rule protection. Things to talk about in your pregame. And again, remember that every free kick is a short kick until it's not. There are certain situations, like when we go 6 in the box, where we need to make sure that we quickly recover or review all of those things that could be involved in a short kick. All right, let's transition now to the punting game. And this first clip should be from the Belleville-Davison game, number 82. In this particular instance, the deep wing at the top of the screen is not going to react to the depth of the kick. You can see the kick returner is beginning to give ground. That jumped a little bit, Gregor. He's going to begin to give ground. Our side judge is in good position initially, but does not retreat to 7 yards behind the kick returner. We have to react to the depth of the kick in addition to the direction. Now, fortunately, nothing bad happened here. The return ended fairly quickly, but just because you start in the right position does not mean that's where you're going to stay continuously through the play. You'll notice the back judge is moving in accordance with the depth of the kick and then puts his beanbag down approximately at the end of the kick. So the back judge handled it correctly because he reacted to the depth of the kick. The side judge in this case did not react and should have been back on the same plane as the back judge. All right, next clip should be number 99. Now, this is going to be just a quick reminder here as opposed to something that we're going to spend a lot of time on. You'll notice that the kick returner is going to give a signal with both hands above his shoulders. Now, I'm sure he's intending to point out the ball to his teammates. But when we get hands above the shoulders, we're going to recognize that as being an invalid signal. Now, I know technically that's a foul in high school football, unless he comes up and does something in terms of fielding the ball. The point is, we're going to shut this down. I don't see this being fouling action unless he comes up and gains some advantage or tries to from his invalid signal. But we're not going to allow him to do this and have any return by Team B. All right, next clip. This next one is going to be legal pointing action. This is 103. You will note here that this kick returner is going to be pointing down. It's at about the waist. He's pointing out where the ball is. This is not a signal. This is simply pointing out the ball. So any Team B player would be eligible to pick up this ball. Please note the difference between the two. Now we have a little scrum there in the middle of the field. That's not something that probably the deep three are going to get. That's something either that the umpire or the short wing is going to have to clean up for us. Probably not a foul, but undoubtedly should be a talk to. All right, next clip is going to be 107. Once again, we're not going to react to the depth of the kick. There again, we should know that by our scouting that this player has a good leg. You can see that the kick actually goes out of bounds behind our deep wing, simply because we're not reading the depth of the kick off of the foot. While you're out there and the teams are warming up before the game, that's an opportunity for you to get a feel for that ball coming off the foot of both of your punters. Will also give you an idea in terms of your surroundings with the ball inside. All right, let's go to Let's go to Muskegon, East Lansing. This is going to be clip. It's going to be a good no call here. You'll notice that there's a collision between a Team A player and the kick returner. But if you run that back, what you're going to see is the teammate, the B player, is going to block this Team A player into the kick returner. Now, when there's contact between the Team A player and the Team B player, we're going to interpret that as the Team A player or the Team B player put the Team A player into the ball. We're not going to recognize that as a foul. Our back judge does a nice job of seeing exactly what happens here. And he is able to see it because of his cushion. He does not get up there and get too close. His depth allows him to see the full magnitude of the situation as both players are coming downfield, and properly does not make a call. This is a correct judgment. Now, the first thing you want to do, deep wings, is you want to stop the clock. When you recognize a kick is going out of bounds, as it does here, get the game clock stopped. Now, maybe our side judge gets this clock stopped before we get to him, but either way, we want to stop it as soon as we have the ball out of bounds. Now, if the ball lands in the white area, you are responsible for determining the out of bounds spot. If the ball lands beyond the white into the team bench or near the limit line, outside of the team bench, then hopefully you have prepped with your referee that if you have a shank like that, that he's going to line it up for you. And then you're going to come up and then take the spot off of his directional signal. All right, next clip. This should be Lumen Christi and Millington, and this should be West Michigan. All right. This is a kick out of bounds, same thing. You can see in this particular case, our deep wing is lining it up with the referee, stops the clock, and now he's going to walk up under control to the spot where the referee is going to stop him, which is right there. So we're putting the ball at the 48-yard line. That's how it's done. All right, so now we need to go to Forest Hill Central, Zeeland. In our kicking game, scrimmage kick game, we're working in effect reverse mechanics. So the deep wings are assuming the normal position and responsibilities of the short wing and vice versa. And what you need to do is to remind your short wing in your pregame this week or in your communication with him during the week how important it is for him not to get too far upfield. Now here you can see he does not give ground. He should be back around the 10, maybe even 5-yard line. He actually waits and takes the spot. And now you can see the deep wing comes up and reminds him that that's his spot and that he should have been giving ground to stay ahead of this in the event that the kick return went further. It's also important from the standpoint of supervising the blocks that may occur. He gets started, but you can see he's looking at the kick returner. He should be ahead of this, reviewing the players that are about to become engaged with opponents. So this is a topic of conversation you should definitely have with your short wing this week. All right, the final one is going to be clip 88 from De La Salle and Waterford Mott. Now, this is kick catch interference. As you will see, the team A player comes down, is not in contact with an opponent, and is going to make contact with the kick returner. And this is going to be a foul for KCI. Properly called. Now, we want to make sure that we don't kill that play right away, because uh, Team B could still come up and field that ball. And then if they like the result of the play more than they would like the 15-yard foul penalty for the foul for KCI, they could decline it. So we wait for the play to end naturally. All right, let's, while we're here, let's pick up reverse mechanics. We previously mentioned the fact that punt returns are, in effect, reverse mechanics plays, as if we have an interception or a fumble recovery. All right now, the deep wing needs to begin giving ground and knowing that the deep wing is going to come up and take the spot. Now, the short wing comes up late, but he's coming up with the sole purpose of cleaning out the bench area of opposing jersey colors. Okay. So intercepted pass, deep wing is behind this, should be at about the 40 or 35-yard line. All right, now there he is. He's slowly coming up behind as if this was a punt return. The short wing should be ahead of this. And umpires looking at this inside out. The intercepting player goes out of bounds, but we have the original Team A with players into the bench. So the short wing comes up, does a nice job cleaning it up. Deep wings, when you have players out of bounds, if you can't see them, you need to drop a beanbag and get into the bench area to help clean them up, clean them out, get them out of there. We'll come back to your spot. Just make a mental note of where it was or where your beanbag ends up. And then if necessary, we can also get some support from the opposite deep wing, who should have this on reverse mechanics, on the other side, cross field mechanics from the other side of the field. So this is really well done by the crew. All right, the next one is going to be from Muskegon, East Lansing. Once again, we're going to get an intercepted pass here down around the goal line. Now you can see the short wing has progressed downfield and does not make an attempt to get ahead of this. Now it happens pretty quickly, I will grant you that, but you can see that right now, instead of continuing forward, he needs to give ground. We have a potential foul there at about the numbers, and I'm pretty sure that he really was not able to know what occurred in that given situation. So right now, short wing needs to stop. He's right there at the bottom of the screen. You can see he continues forward a few yards instead of reversing and trying to get as much depth as he can. This spot is going to belong to the deep wing coming up the sideline. All right, then the last reverse mechanics play is 113. It's going to be on the other side of the field this time. And what we're going to get is we're going to have a face mask foul against the original Team A. The flag comes out. Now, I'm sure this deep wing or short wing was thinking 5-person mechanics, because he immediately comes up and takes that dead ball spot. What I would prefer is that the short wing throw the flag, stay right where he is to help with the players that are now pursuing coming up from behind, and let the deep wing come up and take this spot. We're going to put it on a yard line anyway. Doesn't really matter as long as we get the ball close to where the dead ball spot belongs after we enforce the 15-yard penalty for face mask. All right, let's transition now to deep 3 mechanics. This first play is we're going to have hand fighting at the top of the screen. Now, there's just nothing there. Those guys do that all the time, but of course, that's not where the throw ends up going. But that clearly should be within initially what the deep wing at the top of the screen is looking at. Now, at the same time, he does a good job reacting to the depth of this pass. So he's not solely concentrating on this action that is his key he recognizes the player coming from the middle of the field from the opposite side and gets depth and supports the back judge on this action. The other thing that's really good about this is because the back judge has such a good cushion, he can clearly see what happens here with the pass and the fact that it was not firmly controlled. There was no second act that took place and rules it correctly as an incomplete pass. Very, very well done by the back judge, and really a pretty good job by, let's see, this is first half. So that would be, I believe, the side judge. He got pretty good depth, which aided the back judge tremendously. All right, next clip is going to be a situation again where the deep wing is going to need to multitask. There's going to be a block at the corner. Right here at the 47-yard line. So he's got to watch that. But at the same time, he's got to be prepared to give ground. Now, you might have picked up that he ran into someone on the sideline. Now, we're never going to know whether he would have gotten to the goal line in time or not. The point that I want to make on that particular issue, though, is that we have to keep our sidelines clear. And we are our own worst enemies most of the time because we're too nice of guys or gals. We try to get along with everybody and would you please and gosh, and we go around them and all of that. They don't belong inside the limit line. If they're team personnel, they don't belong anywhere close to the white. They belong in the coach's box. If they're players, they certainly don't even belong in the coach's box. Here we're going to run into someone, doesn't look like it's bench personnel, but it's our fault because we let the snap go and we had people in the way, potentially in the way. So we've got to make sure the area behind us is clear. All right, clip 19. What we're going to get here is a really quick transition. Next clip, Gregor. We've got trips, well, not trips, but we have the back judge to the bottom of the screen. And now we got a throwback. As soon as that is recognized, the back judge has to transition from strong side to the point of attack. And we're going to get action right about at the hash mark. Now, this is going to be a really quick transition for the back judge. So deep wing at the top of the screen, you need to play this as if you're not going to get the back judge's help on this, right there at the 43-yard line. You can see he turns him around, and that's a grab and restrict and certainly a foul. Now, I realize that you've got a live action situation near the sideline, but again, we have to multitask here and make decisions on both of those blocks and potentially, I suppose, have flags on both. But clearly the one that springs this guy is the one that happens around the numbers, hash mark to the numbers. And I'm just not sure that the back judge has time to get over here quickly enough to see this beginning to end. Might even have some traffic in front of him. The short wing also might have the ability to check down on this because the catch is going to be made pretty quickly. So as soon as the catch is completed, and we know that firm control has resulted, the short wing should be looking at point of attack also. So that's one of those team mechanics things, crew mechanics that we need to talk about as a unit. That's a foul that we absolutely have to get called. Clearly, it has an impact on the play, allows the runner to get probably an additional 15 yards. Now, to the credit of the deep wing, he did a good job getting back to the goal line. I appreciate that. At the same time, as we've talked about, we have to multitask and make sure that we're handling our keys and we're handling the point of attack so that we recognize when we have an unfair act, someone gains an advantage as they did in this situation. Clip 26 from the same game. again, you need to scout your teams. And if you have Belleville, you have some very, very quick people on both sides of the ball. And we just don't get our feet started soon enough. Now, that player may have passed us, the deep official at the bottom of the screen, even if we had reacted on a timely sort of way, but at least we would have gotten closer to it than we were able to in this particular case. And of course, what we need to do is to read the mesh point, and right now is the mesh point. And we got to make a full commitment to our cushion. So back judge does a good job locating the goal line. But if this becomes a difficult decision at the pylon, the closer we get to it, the more accurate we're going to be. All right, next clip. You've heard me talk about never assuming. Here's a case where we cannot assume that the player is going to be tackled or driven out of bounds. We let our feet become still here. Looks like he's going to be tackled. Looks like he might be driven out of bounds. No, neither of those two happened, and we're tardy getting to the goal line. Now, gratefully, it was not a tough play at the pylon, but it's not always going to be that way. So what we got to do is we need to be ready to move, and we're not quick enough reacting to what took place there. We just have to be alert and get our feet moving so that we end up where we need to be. All right, the next play should come from Muskegon, East Lansing, number 27. All right, let's go back to this formation. Go back to the formation, Gregor. All right, notice that there's no eligible receiver on this at the end of the line at the bottom of the screen. The player who was an eligible receiver is now gone in motion. This is this is a unbalanced formation. So as soon as you recognize you don't have an eligible receiver, you have to be thinking that you're going to have players from the other side of the field that are going to be coming towards you. The offense is not going to allow the defense to be all so close together to affect their route. And as you would expect, the quarterback comes out and we get a player coming from the other side of the field, which is not observed soon enough by the deep wing at the bottom of the screen. So this is when we talk about players coming cross field, this should be an automatic alert for you when you don't have an eligible receiver on your side of the field. Back judge does a nice job getting back there, but we have to read and react to that. We have to use our football IQ to realize that there's a strong probability we're going to have somebody coming our way. All right, next clip, number 99. This is our back judge is going to do a really nice job with his reaction here. All possible because of the cushion. Now, you've heard me say that it is possible to have too much of a cushion. It's really hard to do. Distance is our friend. Now, we don't want to bail out like at the snap, automatically start running full speed the other way, but we can always come forward. We can always pause. We can stop. What we can't do is to make up ground against young men that are running much quicker than we maybe ever ran in our lives. Good job. All right, let's go to Lumen Christi and Millington. What we're going to have at the bottom of the screen is we're going to get a good read by our deep wing. You got one-on-one coverage out here. It looks like a broken play, and now this receiver is going to go ahead and get some depth, and that ball is going to be winged towards him. And our deep wing recognizes the situation, kept his depth, and now gives ground in recognition of this pass going deep. And you can see that his feet are moving. His shoulders are approximately parallel to the line of scrimmage. If this ball ends up being caught by the receiver, he's already in motion and stands a decent chance to keep his cushion and get to the goal line. Very, very well officiated. Good mechanics by our deep wing. The other thing that he does is he continues to move backwards, which allows him to continue to supervise the players, the opponents on the ground. Well done all the way around. And number 60 from that same game. This is going to be a good pickup by our short wing. We're going to have DPI at the bottom of the screen. Now, the initial contact by the defensive back was fine. He did not restrict the player from running his route. What caused the problem was they grabbed a hold of him, turned his shoulders. This would be a hook and turn. This is a good pickup by the wingman, short wing. Now, because of the nature of what happened there being the deep wing's key, the expectation is that you're going to come up and talk with the short wing about his flag. The other thing you need to do is make sure that you control this Millington coach. Well, I don't want the fact that it's Millington has nothing to do with it. We need to make sure that we don't let that get out of hand over there, whether we have a flag or not. But we definitely need to have conversation between the short wing and the deep wing. Good job by the short wing. The other thing that I would say is finish the play with an incomplete signal. All right, Mason MLK. What we're going to have here is we're going to have a pass that's going to go deep into the end zone. You can see our back judge is starting on the end line. So he's in perfect position, takes a couple of steps down. The only thing that I would say about the back judge here is I would prefer that you just come to a stop. At the mesh point, like right about there, would be good for you to stop. The last 3 steps we don't need. We get nothing from those last 3 steps. You don't get a better look at it. You might even get worse of a look at it. So just stay right there and make your decision. Now, the other thing we need to do, because this goes to the back third of the end zone, is that the deep wing at the top of the screen needs to come down the back edge of the white, and here it's blue. 2 or 3 steps, get to a stationary position, and then make your determination accordingly. So, Gregor, if you can illustrate that with your cursor, please. The deep wing should slide down 2 to 3 steps. Get, maybe not that far, right about there. Yeah, right about there. And all we're looking to do is to improve our angle to support the back judge's work on the end line and potentially help with catch, no catch. All right. This next clip, the last clip of this group, is a Hail Mary pass at the end of the game. Snap from about the 40-yard line, quarterback steps up, and now we've got action going into the end zone. Now, hopefully you've been on these calls enough to know that the expectation is that the back judge is going to defend the end line. We don't get all the way to the end line. As soon as we recognize this as going deep into the end zone, we need to get back to the goal line. And we get about 7, maybe 8 yards, but we need to go all the way back so that we find it, so we don't have to locate it later on. And once again, well, we do get our short wing, our deep wing moving in, but he comes onto the field as opposed to going down the back edge of what would be the white. The result of the play is correctly handled. We just could have done a little better job mechanically. All right, there was one catch, no catch that I wanted to talk about tonight, and that was from Muskegon East Lansing. This is going to be a really, really close one. And whether it's right or wrong or not, is really not the reason why it's being put up for you to take a look at. It's mainly to keep it in front of you. Part of your pregame should be talking about catch, no catch, the principles that go with it. What we're going to get is a pass that's going to come here to the bottom of the screen. Now, player's going to the ground, so he has to survive the ground. Does the player have a chance to put that away? No. This is really a nice decision by the short wing, making this incomplete. Good job. So talk about it. All right. We're getting close here to the end of our evening or our time together. Let's go to the goal line pylon plays. And the first one is going to be Muskegon East Lansing. Okay. I let that run through just to give you an idea of what took place here. Once again, we need to make determinations. Instead of assuming that that player is going to get tackled, we need to make sure that we get moving and stay ahead of this play. By the time that we get to the goal line, it really has already happened. Now, it appears, number one, and the other thing is we're too close to the pylon. We should be back at least at the back edge of the white, even behind that if at all possible. This guy's lucky that he didn't get into trouble with contact with players. We've got to have, number one, a better angle. Ideally get stationary at the goal line extended. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we read and react. We just get started too late. And that's probably a facilitation of lack of experience at the deep wing position. But we can handle that better. Fortunately, we got the play right. All right, next one should be Ottawa Lake, Whiteford, and Gabriel Richard. This is going to go to the bottom of the screen. There are a couple things we're going to talk about. First, we're going to talk about the goal line itself. Pretty typical route. Now, our deep wing is going to get to the goal line. He's at the back edge of the white. What we want to do is we want to keep the area clear behind the goal line. No one should be inside the limit line, whether they're photographers or anyone else other than game personnel, chain crew, ball people, etc. Everyone else should be behind the limit line, and no one should be directly behind the goal line, because what we should really have happen here is for our deep wing to back up to the limit line, goal line, limit line, which is that solid white line that's behind him, to avoid the players and also have a better look at the pylon. Now, once again, we get the call correct, but it would have been better if we'd backed up further. Made possible if we have the area behind the goal line clear. Now, if we go back to this, I want to point out back judge mechanics. Go back again to the beginning of the snap. All right, we start at the goal line, which is correct. We're snapping, well, we're snapping just about at the 25. So I'm good with you starting there. It would be good with you starting midway in the end zone. Would also be good with you starting on the end line, depending on your comfort level. But here he starts at the goal line. Okay, fine. Now this becomes a pass that is well short of the goal line. So if you let it run, There really isn't anything that threatens the back judge in terms of needing to go to the end line. The pass is caught around the 15-yard line. The players that are closest to the goal line are the ones that are about the 6-7 yard line in front of where the pass is going. The back judge should have stayed right on the goal line and bracketed this action that ends up being a touchdown called by the deep wing. See, we have nothing to defend. The end line does not need to be defended there. Therefore, the back judge should have stayed on the goal line and assisted with that decision at the pylon. All right, last one in this package is Forest Hill Central, Zeeland West. This is a coordination play. This is something, deep wings, you should definitely talk with your short wings about before you head into your game on Saturday or Sunday. This is going to go to the top of the screen. We're snapping from the 8, so the deep wing is on the goal line. See what happened there? I'm sure that that is a 5-person line of scrimmage official that forgot entirely that he had a deep wing right on the goal line. Now, the way we do that is not only do we pregame it, conversations during the week, but certainly pregame on Saturday or Sunday, whichever day is your game. But the other thing that we do, deep wings, is before every play, when you are at the pylon, when we get around the 10-yard line, you need to turn and have contact, verbal contact with your short wing. I'm here. I'm here. I've got it inside the 2. You've got it to the 2. So before every snap, we're confirming the fact that we are on the goal line. And the other thing would be, let's say that we end up with a play that ends up at the 6-yard line, and now you're going to the end line. You're going to communicate with your short wing to say, I'm at the back pylon, goal line is yours, so that we make sure every play that we have it confirmed who's going to have the goal line. All right, we're going to wrap up with 2 trick plays. We've talked about trick plays. We did probably more on that at the MHSA office than we did with our supplemental session. This first play is going to be Portland and South Christian. It's going to be a fake punt. So don't count on that. If the coach tells you about a trick play, great. But don't assume if the coach says, no, I don't have anything special. I wouldn't believe that for a minute. They've been practicing this stuff all year long, and just for situations like this. All right, so what we have here is a fake punt. If you go back to the formation, Gregor, if you count the linemen, I'll save you from counting the linemen. You have 4 backs. You have the punter and 3 traditional backs, which means that the player is covered over at the top of the screen. Top of the screen, right there. What would be normally thought to be the tight end. Doesn't matter what number he's got on. He's ineligible by position because if he's in the backfield, we got a formation foul. So he's covered. Now, watch, if you go slow, watch what he does. Run it slow, Gregor. He's 3 yards downfield now. He's 4, almost 5. He's engaged with this guy. So I suppose we could make that OPI. He's going to come back, and at the time that the ball is thrown, he's 3 yards downfield. So this is a foul for ineligible downfield. Now, this pass is caught for a first down. Now, I think the coach at the bottom of the screen who just had this play run against him whether he scouted this or whether someone in the press box said something about that player being covered up, I got an idea that he's got it figured that this isn't ineligible downfield. And unfortunately, if he did, he's right. If this is a running play, no problem. But because it's a legal forward pass play, this is a foul for ineligible downfield, something that we have to be alert to. And with trick plays, everything has to be perfect. We're not giving any latitude in terms of formation or anything else that may be in a regular scrimmage play that we would overlook. So this is a miss, and it's something that should not have happened. Fortunately, it did not decide the game. All right, the last clip of the night is from De La Salle and Waterford. It happened at the bottom of the screen. Right back to the formation. The player, middle player here at the snap, watch what he does. We have a legal formation formed in the backfield. Now watch when he turns. Number 71. Now, this is a legal formation. 71 cannot go downfield. We know that. But look how the defense defended it. The defense guarded this guy as if he was going to be an eligible receiver. They come up and defend him. He's got 71 on his chest. And obviously it helped the offense be successful downfield. So those are situations that we need to recognize. In fact, if with your O2O, you may key the mic and say, hey, we got an ineligible wide over here, so that we put everybody on notice that if something doesn't happen quite right, that we know that we did have a bad number over there. All right, Gregor, thank you for your support again tonight. The good thing about something like this is that you can go back and rerun anything that you saw that you want to review, and fast forward things that are not of interest to you. As mentioned on Sunday, you've already been recognized as one of the top officials in your area and in the state as a result of having a semi or a final. So you have nothing to prove other than to go in and do a very, very fine job. And the way you do that is to be prepared mechanically and be alert for the crew to help out when and how we might need it in a given situation. We did a great job last week with fouls. So don't feel like that you need to pull that yellow thing out of your pocket unless you have something that's visible, material, take something away. As Mark Ewell would say, bigger than Dallas. The thing that we need to do heading into this game is to make sure that we scout our teams and that we have internal crew communication during the week. And then we wrap things up with a nice tidy bow during our pregame on either Saturday or Sunday when we have our game. Thank you for tuning in. To those who have written, called, text, what have you. Appreciate the support that you've given to this program, and just go out there and do a great job, and congratulations. So thanks for reviewing this video, and have fun on Saturday or Sunday.